Hey guys, it's Eddie here from Delaney Property. Today I want to talk to you about commercial property and my thoughts on buying commercial property. And should you buy commercial property and all the ins and outs. I'm going to keep it short and simple, but I'm going to try to explain as much as possible within the next couple minutes. Just my thoughts and opinions. Everyone has a different opinion, different story, and different feelings toward commercial property. And I'm just going to explain a little bit about why I only stick to residential at this current stage in building my own portfolio property investing journey. So a couple of reasons why I stick to mainly residential rather than jumping into commercial is one is to do with finance and getting finance for commercial property. Just in my experience and talking to a lot of other investors that have actually invested in commercial property can be a lot harder to obtain finance. So what I mean by that is banks have different policies and different finance opportunities, and different basically factors come in with different lenders. So some lenders with commercial property that some only lend finance for residential, not commercial. So getting finance tends to be a lot harder with getting what we buy in commercial. That's one reason. Another part of that is bigger deposits. You have to come up with usually a lot more capital or savings or equity to invest in commercial property. So take for example buying a house, you can get in with a 10% deposit, possibly a 5%, but between 10 and 20% is usually the sweet spot with buying residential property. However, if you buy commercial, most of the time you have to get in with 30% and above, sometimes more, possibly less, but majority of it's 30%. So say you're buying a property for $300,000 as an example, could be more, but just as an example, a deposit on $300,000 if it was commercial would be $90,000 plus other purchasing expenses. So that's $90,000 just to buy something for $300,000. Where if you bought a house for $300,000, you could get in with a 10% deposit possibly. So you'd only pay $30,000. So in terms of leverage and being able to grow a portfolio and accumulate properties, some residential, some commercial. Residential, you can definitely leverage more money as opposed to commercial. So that's another reason why I stick with residential at this stage. Another reason could also be in terms of leases and rental income. Having commercial property is a totally different ballgame as opposed to having residential property. Commercial, you're just renting out to what? You're renting out to businesses. So depending on the area, the demographic, the population growth, etc. If you're buying the wrong area when it comes to commercial, say you're buying still within 30 minutes or an hour sweet spot from a major capital city, if that depends a lot on the economic status of what's going on in the country, lots of things can come into play. So there's only so many businesses out there that can actually rent that. So if you ever have a period of time where there's no one in your commercial property, sometimes it takes a long period of time just to get another tenant or business to go in there and rent out that commercial property. So it can take a lot longer. And not saying it just does in general, but most of the time it takes a lot longer, as opposed to say you buy a nice basic style house, townhouse unit within half an hour of a metro city. Most likely you can get a tenant in within a week or two or a couple of days, sometimes even, depending on your property manager, because it's just a supply and demand game. And residential, there's a lot more demand for residential than there is for commercial on average, just because of obviously population as opposed to the amount of people looking for homes compared to the amount of businesses looking for offices and warehouses and all that kind of stuff to rent. So you're going to make lots of money buying commercial property. So not saying that you shouldn't buy commercial property, but just in my experience, what's worked best for me with growing my own property portfolio is starting off with the basics, sticking with residential. I might continue building my portfolio from 14 properties where I'm at the moment to 20 or 30 or 40 residential, and then once I've got that massive portfolio base of residential, then I might pull out big chunks of equity and go buy some commercial things, because I just see commercial as it's a lot higher risk. You have to have more chunks of capital to put into it. So for anyone looking to get started in property investing, whether it's residential or commercial, My, I guess, guidance would be start off with something small. Even if you can borrow up to $1 million, does not mean you necessarily have to borrow $1 million. You know, you can start off with something for 300,000, 400,000, you know, even 200,000 or under, and just gradually grow and, you know, grow over time. That's what worked best for me. I started off buying properties that were under $200,000 when I was, you know, 18, 19 years old, and you know, now I've got over 14 properties, and I'm just going to continue on building that. And yeah, get to the next level, continue moving forward. So I hope this video has explained a little bit about my, I guess, opinions and my thoughts on buying commercial property. Should you do it or should you not do it? If you're just starting off, I'd say stick with residential. But you know, it's your choice. I'll leave it with you. And yeah, thanks for watching. And please subscribe and you know, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I'll chat to you soon. Thanks. Bye.